Hey everybody, I'm Tarl Yarber with Fixated Real Estate and welcome to one of our newest projects that just got completed. We're using the BRRRR strategy, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. It could have been a flip, but we decided to keep it and rent it out and make some serious cash flow on it. We're gonna show you guys the before stuff, before this property was done, footage of what it looked like before it was totally remodeled. We had to do a lot to it. We spent over $85,000 on this rehab to make it what it is today. And now it's going to cash flow a little over $425 a month for us. And I'm going to show you how we did that. And also we're going to go over all the issues that we had on it, right? And all the numbers at the end of this project, because it was a funky house for sure. So come with me, let's go check it out. And you guys can see what we did. All right, so let's go ahead and walk this property. This is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house, 1,220 square feet. And it used to have an addition off the back, and the garage used to be attached to the property too. So we're gonna go show you guys that and what we did. And you guys will be able to see through some of the pictures and footage that we show you what it used to look like when we got this property, because it wasn't the best, right? It was pretty messed up. So first off, one of the biggest issues on this house was that there was no backyard entrance. There was no way to get to the backyard unless you went through the kitchen door here, right? And when you went through the kitchen door, there used to be, the garage used to actually be fully attached to the property over here, right? So you had to open up the garage door to go through the garage door to get to the backyard if you wanted to. That was the only way to get back there. It was really, really funky. And it was a really hard part for us, I'll show you guys the floor plan later, to try to figure out how to get people into the backyard without it being so messed up. At first you'd think you could put a back door. Well, in reality, you can't on this house. It's a messed up situation, but I'll show you what we did. We detached the garage from the house, right? Which is, why would you do that, right? Well, because it would kind of suck, like I said, to have the garage attached to the house here, and the only way to the backyard was to open the garage door and then go all the way around it. So we did want to make it an enclosed fence. All this was here already. There used to be you can see here, there used to be a shed here as well, but this used to be all inside the garage right now, right? So we ripped it all apart, redid all this stuff, and the biggest wow factor, even though we got a bunch of weeds here, is that if you guys could just see what this used to look like before this, and you can hear the noise of the traffic maybe from my microphone, but one of our major issues on this project, if we're going to keep it as a rental, or specifically if we're going to go resell this property, is that we have kind of a busy road back here, and we needed to do something to be able to damper the noise. There's just massive hedges, massive bushes everywhere, huge blackberry bushes all over the place, and this thing was totally messed up. In fact, the funny part about this was that when we cut everything out of here, it was a massive amount of rats all in here, and they scurried off to all the neighbors' properties, and we started getting phone calls from all the neighbors about how all the rats started getting into their house. So we were nice enough neighbors as well to start paying for extermination for all that stuff, since we kind of let them loose, right? But in the meantime, we needed to figure out a way to make this look nice, but also long-term damper the sound. So our landscaper came up with an idea saying, well, let's make a bigger fence and let's put these trees in the back to help dampen noise. Now, right now it's not doing much, but over the course of a couple of years, those will grow and grow and grow and help isolate the sound. If we were to go resell this as a flip, this would be a huge selling factor that would help people out a lot. We didn't want to do much more to the landscape. We had to this was all nasty, this whole area here, so we laid some grass, which I'm totally destroying right now. And we made a little patio area here too. So you'll see from the before shots and before photos, there used to be an addition that came out all the way to here. So there used to be a nice little addition here. However, that addition was like this, trying to get into the house and stuff. So it was not really the best usable addition at all. And even when you're inside the house, you are walking into it like this. And I don't know if people that were vertically challenged owned it before or what, but when you have a 5-foot something ceiling height, it's not the best use. And it's gonna cause some really funky issues for somebody to go buy this house later if we went to go resell it. And they'd be like, what is this useless room here, basically? So we had thought, let's tear it out. And there was a slab that was underneath there. We thought if we tore it out, then we could build maybe an overhanging outdoor patio area. Well, unfortunately, once we tore it out, we saw that not only did they build it wrong with the low ceiling height, they built the entire foundation and slab completely horribly. and it was a mess. I mean, like, it was disjointed everywhere. It was just completely broken in, sunken down all over the place, and it was completely unusable. So we had to rip it all out completely, and we just made this nice little patio area instead. And our landscaper needs to come back here and fix these little cracks, right? So I'm talking to you, Jaime, if you're watching these. But besides that, I think it turned out nice. So this is actually the master bedroom. We talked about earlier how there was no entrance to the backyard. This is the only entrance to the backyard, along with the side kitchen now. But this, you have to go through the master bedroom to get to this door. So it's still a factor. So we wanted to make it a little bit easier usable. I think people will enjoy it and be able to use it as best as they can. So let me go now. Let's go into the house, and I can show you guys the floor plans. And we can show you what we did to the interior to make it a way more functional floor plan. You guys are gonna be blown away into what it used to look like and what it is today. Cool? Okay, so we're not gonna go through the front door, because if you guys saw past videos, this is the door we went through to be able to show how messed up the kitchen area was. So come with me. It's like HGTV, but real. All right, so this used to be totally different setup for the kitchen. So let's come on over here, all the way around. So this used to be completely different setup for the kitchen. When you came in, there was a wall here, right? And then also you had to go like around it. There was a chimney stack here, like an old chimney flue that we had to get rid of. It was all enclosed in sheetrock. And this here was actually more that way. So the kitchen was technically bigger, and there was a window right in this area as well, right? So we completely opened it all up. We reframed the floor plan, and you'll see why in a moment why we reframed the floor plan on this side as well, because of the functionality of the bedrooms and the bathrooms, right? We upgraded everything, all brand new electrical in this house, all brand new plumbing, right? Mostly new sheetrock throughout it because of all the framing that we had to do, all new laminate vinyl planking that we use, which we always use LVP, laminate vinyl planking for our rentals, for our burrs, because we just want something that lasts a little bit longer and it's not going to get messed up from the tenants as much. And we always put carpets in the bedrooms too. So besides that, like, everything looks really nice. We like to upgrade our finishes as much as possible for our burrs, because we get a higher appraised value for those things. We usually typically get a much better tenant because we're able to charge more rent, all right, because of the finish we do. Now that's market specific though. So I want you guys to understand that. If our comps in this area told us that we need to put Formica countertops down and do no tile backsplash and just put white appliances in here and put carpet throughout, and that would get us the value we need to get our appraised value to refinance and get our money back out of this, then we would have totally done Formica and carpet and all that kind of stuff, right? But because in this neighborhood here, in order to get the value we want, which we want to get over a $415,000 appraisal for this property, then we had to put in the quartz countertops, the tile backsplashes, the nice flooring, and update everything inside here to get that value. That is so important, and we'll go over that more later in this video for the numbers. So important when you're doing a BRRRR, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat, so that you get the appraised value that you're seeking, so that you can get your money back out and make it a true BRRRR, right? Because ideally, we're able to do this property and have no money into it by the time we refinance and cash flow $425 a month. Now we are gonna have to leave some money into this one, and I'll go over that later. So in the meantime, let's show the rest of the property, and then I'll show you guys the floor plans and how big of a difference it is. So in here, this whole hallway area used to be completely compacted. This bathroom, this is the bathroom here, so let's check that out. This bathroom used to be half the size. So the bathroom used to actually end right here, right? So it was a really small bathroom. One of the factors for resale value as well as for rentals is that this is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. There was no real way to get a second bathroom in here and make it cost effective for us to do it. The value we would get for a second bathroom versus the cost with what we would need to do it and the place we'd have to put it in was just not, it just wasn't there for us to do it. So if we're gonna have a single bathroom for a 3-bedroom house, we want it to be a little bit bigger and more functional. Where it was when it was right here, right, you basically had a tiny pedestal sink, and imagine living here in a nice, beautiful house, right, and you have this really crappy small bathroom, right? So we wanted to at least get rid of that portion of it. So we expanded the bathroom out, which we'll show you on the floor plans how we did that. So we can get a 48-inch vanity in here, a lot more functional bathroom to begin with. Still only 1 bath, but still. So then in this area over here, you guys will see too that this used to be not the closet, right? This actually used to be part of the kitchen, if you could believe that or not, right? And the closet used to be over here, and the door to this bedroom used to be right here, right? So it was a little funkier, messed up area, and I'll show you the floor plans. But we rearranged all this so we can get a more functional kitchen, right, and still have a closet in here. None of this was here. All of this, gone, right, completely different. This bedroom was the only thing that didn't really change much. So we kept it all pretty much the same. Nice functional, big window. You can literally leap through it. It's almost a sliding glass door all on its own. And then last but not least, we have the master bedroom. So years ago, this house was built in 1948. Years ago, this used to be a garage, right? So this was a one-car garage at one point. And if we were to add a second bathroom somewhere, this is where we would have added it, was in this walk-in closet area instead. If you look at it, you go like, yeah, that's big enough for a bathroom easily. And we could have made a master suite in here if we wanted to. But because this was a garage, right, and there's a big crawl space in the house, because this was a garage, this is a slab foundation here, right? The amount of work for us to chisel out, cut all the concrete out, get to grade, get it all out there, and put it all back in order to work with a slab foundation would have been not cost effective for us to add that, and we wouldn't have gotten the value that we wanted to begin with. So we saved all that money for rehab, and we're still gonna get the appraised value that we need, so why do it, right? So think of that, sometimes it's the maximum that you could do to a house isn't always the best thing when it comes to financials, right? If it cost us 10 grand to do this whole bathroom, but only got me 15 grand back on the return for the ARV, that might make sense, it's 5 extra grand. But that extra 10 grand to do that bathroom isn't just 10 grand. It's the time, it's the energy, it's the permitting process, it's all that kind of stuff that goes with it, and all the issues that might come up, right, with that rehab. So it wasn't worth the reward, right? So let me show you guys the floor plan. So that way this makes a lot more sense to you as far as what it used to look like, and now obviously what it looks like today, and give you guys an idea of why we did what we did for the actual plans and changes. So as you guys can see here, this is the before of the house. This is that garage. So here's the front door, right? Oops, sorry, here's the front door, that door right there. All right, we're standing right around this area right now, right, roughly. The garage I talked about, if you can see how this used to be the only way to get to the backyard was to go through here, and then this got closed off somehow, but there was a door here. You had to go this way and cut over to get to the backyard from the outside. And the only other way was to go through the front door, cut over, go through the master bedroom into this back addition part, which we ripped out, and then go out the back door too, right? There was no realistically cost-effective way to add a back door to one of these bedrooms, or because you'd have to get rid of the bedroom. We thought about getting rid of this bedroom completely and making it to where it's part of the kitchen with a slider, but there was no place to put that bedroom again. And it was just, the amount of money it would take to remodel all this stuff just wasn't worth it. So instead, we removed this wall, right, to open up the kitchen like we are standing right now. This nook we didn't need, but we needed a closet. So we basically essentially took the wall, framed it in this way, and got rid of this window. And you'll see in the afters that we made this a closet for this bedroom. And you got this weird funky area here where there's a whole bunch of closets and a really small bathroom like we discussed. In the master bedroom here, we didn't like this closet here, so we put it here like we showed you guys already. And we moved this door over to this area, and we got rid of this whole addition part because it was 5 feet tall, like I said earlier, right? And we showed you guys what it used to look like. So today, what it looks like is this. And this is what you guys have seen. So we're showing that we're standing right here right now. There's that half pony wall, and that we built out. Nice kitchen. And if you guys remember on this part, this is where the kitchen used to be. And then we framed in a wall nice and straight, and then added a closet so we make this a functional bedroom. But we took all this space here from this funky setup in this area, and we made a nice, way more functional hallway to both bedrooms, and we were able to expand the bathroom out by additional, like, what was that, 3 feet. So it was 6 foot. The bathroom used to be 6'6". Now it's 8'6". So we got another 2 feet into the bathroom, which allowed us to have a 48-inch vanity and make it a lot more functional for that house. And of course, we added that as well. So how do you do this? Most of you guys might be asking, what program do we use to make these? It's Home Designer Pro. We don't get paid to promote Home Designer Pro, but we think it's super fast, super easy to use to be able to get these measurements and stuff like that for your floor plans. You can also hire that out. I think it's a lot cheaper than getting an architect, because an architect is going to cost me thousands of dollars to get this part done. whereas you can work with a good seasoned general contractor and also a drafter or somebody like that to help make these plans for you. Or you do what we did over the years, which is learn how to do them ourselves in-house and save ourselves thousands and thousands of dollars, right? So that's another story for another day. Maybe we'll do a video in the future about how to actually make these things, but I'd have to bring Serena on for that, who does all our finishes for us. So, all right, so that's it, guys. We're gonna go over the numbers now so that you guys can see what we used to do, what we got this property for, how the numbers work, the rehab that went into it, the holding costs, how the refinance process works, and how the cash flow is actually going to be received from us at the end, and our return on investment, because that's the most important part, right? So let's jump to that. Okay, we're here. We're able to do numbers magically because videos. All right, so that said, this house here, we bought it for, look at this big marker, because we listen to you guys. Not everybody can see our writing. We bought it for $228,000, and that includes pretty much all the closing costs to be able to purchase it, because real numbers, you actually have closing costs to buy these properties. Now, rehab-wise, we actually spent, as far as rehab is concerned, to be able to do this whole property, we spent $85,000 to do all the construction on this house, right? All new electrical, all new plumbing, all new everything, all the framing, everything you guys saw, the whole backyard, the fence. The fence was incredibly expensive to do the entire wraparound fence on this part. So big chunk items, right, to be able to pay for all that. So that's why this number adds up pretty quick. Plus, for those of you guys watching in different parts of the United States, just understand that rehab costs very differently in different parts of the US, specifically here in Seattle. We're pretty expensive here. So you might be able to get this house done for a lot cheaper than us if you're in another part of the world, right? But here, this is what it costs. So that's it. So rehab that. We also had some holding costs, right? So our holding costs, because of financing and so forth, we didn't pay any points, but we borrowed at an 8% loan to be able to do this stuff. We had a private money lender as well as a hard money lender combined, and it was a blended rate of 8% by the time we're done. So our holding costs for taxes, fees, interest payments, mortgage payments, all sorts of stuff. What did we end up paying? We paid $14,000, right, in holding costs to be able to do this, right? So $14,000 holding costs, rehab $85,000, purchase $228,000, right? So all in, right, minus some other miscellaneous stuff, all in, right, we're at about $327,000. So we're at $327,000 all in costs, right, for this project. Big project, right, especially in this area. So we believe, right, that this house is going to appraise for roughly $415,000, right? So the ARV, or appraised value, depending on what you're doing, appraise, we believe is going to be $415,000 or more. So when we bought this project, we thought the minimum would be $415,000. So right now, right, we had some setbacks on this project because one, we had some major permitting issues that we had to get through when we first bought this house. So it set us back a little bit on time for that. So it actually set us back about 45, 60 days just on the permit process for this house because of the city. And then in addition to that, while we're in the middle of the rehab, this whole pesky COVID thingy showed up and made our contractors not want to go to work, right? Also legally couldn't go to work. So we had some delays there too. So we basically, that set us back between those two things, another 3+ months, almost 4 months between those two items, right? A project that should have taken about 90 days ends up taking about 6-7 months, right? And without those things, those are issues. So that created us a little bit more higher cost. But in the meantime, when we thought that the ARV was $415,000, this house turned out a lot better than what we actually thought it was going to turn out to be. Plus also, what's crazy is the market is still crazy right now. So there's actually a very good chance this thing is more $425,000, $435,000, but we won't know until we get the appraisal. But no matter what, it's for sure $415,000. So we're good on that. Now, because of that, right, if our cost is $327,000, we're going to need to get a loan for that, right? Because this is a BRRRR. And if you guys are familiar with BRRRR, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, replete, we want to rent this out and we want to get our money back out. So we got to refinance the property to be able to get that. Now, if it only appraises for $415,000, then most lenders, the most that you can do is you mostly can get 75% LTV. Some lenders, right, that's LTV, loan to value. Some lenders only do 70% though, right? The lender we're using on this one is doing 75% LTV. So if it's 75% LTV, then that is going to roughly put us at, it's $311,000, right? So at 75% LTV, we can get $311,250 loan, right? And at a 5% interest rate, which we might actually get lower than that, we actually might get like a 4.5, 4, depending on the time period. But at a 5% interest rate, that's going to be right around $1,700 a month. Plus, we're going to need to pay taxes and insurance. And so our PITI, principals, interest, taxes, insurance on this property is going to be right around $2,025 a month. So that's our monthly cost once we refinance this thing out, okay? So if that's the case, let's switch to the next thing. So if you follow you guys again, 228, rehab 85,000, 14 grand in holding costs, 327 total costs. 415 is the ARV. It might appraise for more, right? If we get a 75% loan to value on that sucker, then we can borrow a max of 311,000, which we'll jump into that in a second. And we have 2,025 a month payment after principals, interest, taxes, insurance at a 5% interest rate, right? There's some factors here. If it appraises for more than 415, it appraises for 425 or whatever, then this max loan amount goes up, right? So does the payment, but not by that much, right? So I would love for it to appraise for more so I can get more money. One of the problems with BRRRR is that because this number here is 311 and I got 327 into it, the difference between these things is about 16,000 bucks, right? When you start spelling it out. So let's jump into that. So if we have a $327,000 is my cost, the max loan I can get is 311, just to round it off for a loan, then I have to leave in there $16,000, right? That is a $16,000 is left into the project. There's other costs though, right? Because you also have loan costs, right? And for the refi. So in reality, this number here is probably going to be more like $20,000 at least to do the loan. Maybe more. It might be $20,000, $21,000. So I have to leave $20K into this project at least, right? So I'm not going to get all my money back out of this project by the time we're done. So this is investment, right? Part of investing is you invest money. If it appraises for more, if it appraises for 425, 430, then this number gets smaller and smaller and smaller, which is great, right? So the rent on this thing, and we just rented it out, the rent on this thing is $2,500 a month. So if our rent, our PITI was 2,025, so PITI, 2,025 a month, then that gives us a cash flow is $475 with these numbers a month. Now, how do you calculate your ROI? If I have to leave $20,000 in here and I get $425 a month, $425 a month times 12 for a year, so you annualize that. Sorry, $475. Let's get the nifty calculator out again. $475 times 12 equals $5,700 annualized, right, into 20,000. So divide that by 20,000. That is a 28.5% ROI, right? So I guess the question is, do you invest $20,000 to get a 28.5% return on your money? Yes or no? Most people that are landlords are seeking an 8%. Most landlords want a 6 to 10% return on their money at the end of the day if they're leaving money into it. Traditional landlords, one of the powers of BRRRR is you're either getting a very high ROI on your cash flow and you're getting high equity because of the, we built in the equity in this project. And preferably you're getting an infinite return because you're leaving no money into it, right? But in this particular project, we have to leave some money into it. We're leaving at least 20 grand into the project, period, right? So we know that going into it, that's what has to stay. We know on that 20 grand, if that's what we're gonna at least leave in it, we're gonna get a 28% return on that money. I'm okay with that, right? I'll live with that all day. That way in a few years, basically what, 3 to 4 years, we're gonna get that money back, right? But here's the other kicker though, don't forget. We owe 327, but if it appraises for 415, we got a nice little spread of equity in there. We got almost $100,000 of equity, got like 90-something thousand dollars of equity. After closing costs, after everything's done, for us, if we sold this property today to pay everything off, plus pay excise tax in the state of Washington, which is almost 2%, and a bunch of other things, we get between $60,000-$65,000 if it's sold for $415,000. If we sold it today, right? One factor to think about when you're doing a BRRRR is that if you're in a situation where you have to leave money in there or the cash flow is not that high, do you need the cash? Do you need the money to sell the property? So we don't need that money today, right? That $60,000 to $70,000 that we might get if we sell the property today, right? Which there is definitely plenty of times when we do need that money, right? But when you sell this property, if I sold this property now as a flip, I'm going to get taxed. I will. You might be different depending on how you're set up. I'll get taxed as ordinary income, right? I'm not a CPA. I'm not an accountant. You have to figure that stuff out yourself. But most of the time, flips are taxed as ordinary income. So we don't want that high taxation. And that money, if we received it, would just go back into maybe some other business stuff, but we don't need it today. So why not rent this thing out, get past 12 months, right? And switch over to switch over to capital gains, right? So that way when we do sell it, we're taxed at a lower rate, right? So that's one thing sometimes to think about, because when it comes to investing, sometimes, actually all the time, it's not just about like, how do you get all your money out of this? It's like, how do you actually structure your taxes? How do you structure your business? How do you structure your cash flow? How do you structure? All these things are part of the bigger picture of becoming a seasoned investor, right? And the first time I felt like a grown-up in this business was the first time that I took one of my rentals and I did a 1031 exchange with it, right? I felt like I read Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was 17, and he talked about 1031s, right? And it took me almost, what was it? My first 1031 I was 34 years old. So it took me half my life, right? So 17 to 34 to do my first 1031. And I'm so happy we kept that property. And I'm so happy that we actually realized that flipping houses all the time was not going to build us wealth, right? But keeping these properties, forgoing the immediate gratification of getting that $60,000 or whatever it might be if we sold this today, and delaying it for the future to reduce our taxes and reinvest into something better later is way more valuable long-term, and you build way more wealth in the long term if you do it right. That's always the key, right? So there's always a catch if you do it right. So that said, 28% is what we're looking at getting on this one. We'll still cash flow $475 a month. Some factors with the BRRRR for this particular property, some people ask us is like, do we calculate in deferred maintenance? Do we calculate any kind of expenses for capital improvements or anything like that, or vacancies or anything like that in our calculation? On my full BRRRRs like we did here, I don't typically calculate in those expenses because we've already repaired 100% of this property. There's not anything else that's going to get broken. So most landlords will calculate in a maintenance cost or some sort of capital improvement cost or something like that into buying the property to see what the real cash flow is going to be. When you do a full BRRRR and it's all brand new, literally every inch of this house is brand new, there's not much more to repair. So I can delay having to calculate any kind of repairs and so forth on this property as a landlord for many years, because most of this stuff's under warranty. Most of the stuff is brand new. So we're not really worried about that at all, right? And if the tenant messes it up, well, that comes out of their deposit. So it's kind of a wash for the most part. Other aspects vacancy wise, we build in the cost of sitting here vacant, waiting for it to rent out, into our rehab portion of it, the first phase of the property when we go to do our refinance. So that's one way we do that as well. So everybody does it differently. And so you should do it on your own. We all are unique. You might listen to other people from BiggerPockets or other people that are out there, and they will all say something a little differently at how they calculate their ROI and how they analyze their deals. You got to figure that out for yourself on that part. So that said, if you guys have more questions on this, please ask them on the comments. We do our best to go back and answer them as best as possible while this is out there playing. Make sure you follow BiggerPockets and watch all their videos that they got out there. They also have a whole bunch of live events that they do on Facebook, so follow that as well. You can watch past videos of ours from BiggerPockets. We actually have a whole video of this house before it was actually even touched. We have a couple videos of this house while we're going through the rehab process that you can go watch in the past as well. And you can follow me, Tarl Yarber, on Instagram at Tarl Yarber, right? I'm the only one out there. And my company's Fixated Real Estate, and I'll see you guys on the next video.